Anybody but Patrick. Mikey, what's up? What's up, brother? Yeah. That's good.
I gotta ask another question.
Pancakes.
Talk about it. The second most obvious question. We talk about it a lot online, but as far as the Cowboys wide receivers, obviously Dez Bryant is no longer. So now the move that we agree with, they claim they're going to go forward with no number one receiver. They're going to operate as a collective. Do you believe that is actually going to take place? And if not, who do you see emerging as that number one?
Well, when you look at what they have offensively, we know some guys that's already been there. Terrence Williams, a guy who's been there. They added Allen Hurns this offseason. And when you look at what this team is going to be, you lose about 70, 75 receptions in Dez Bryant, another 50 to 60 in Jason Witten. So the ball has to go somewhere. And so now I think Cole Beasley, who's another experienced guy, will get a lot of those targets. The question, I guess, to answer your question, we hear coaches all the time say the game comes down to 2 or 3 plays at the end of the day. When you look at our schedule, there's going to be some games where we're in the shootout. Who makes the play? That's the biggest thing. Who's going to be able to make the play? While you can say whatever you want to say about Dez Bryant and his productivity, whether it was declining or whatever it was, you knew in certain situations in the red zone, things of that nature, where you could throw it up, you were pretty confident that you would say, man, this is the time right now where we need to go to Dez. I don't know if you have that same confidence in this wide receiver group. You're saying, if we needed to play, right, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8 plus, 4th down, 4th quarter, big game, we're in the red zone, we're somewhere where we need to make a play at the wide receiver position. I don't know who we can really hang our hat on right now. So,
do you think there's a definitive baseline?
Bobby,
what's up? Do you think there's a definitive baseline for the Cowboys this year? I mean, I know Jerry said that Jason's safe, but do you think there's a baseline there that if he does not meet this threshold or this criteria, Jason Garrett's not back in the following season?
Yeah, Bob, you've been around long enough to know when Jerry Jones said something in June and April and May, it don't mean the same thing in December and February if his team's not in the Super Bowl. So what he says in the summertime and the springtime, it doesn't hold weight to me, you know what I'm saying, in January and February. And I think this year is a definitive year for the Dallas Cowboys. 2 people in particular, Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett. I think those 2 guys have married each other in the sense where Jason Garrett being the head coach, you decided to let go of Tony Romo and make that decision as a collective unit, right? But he's the head coach, so a lot of that falls on him as well. But now you go forward with Dak Prescott. This is a guy who some people like, some people don't like, some people are in the middle about him. Now going forward, this is a guy in his 3rd season. We saw a really good rookie year, regressed a little bit last year, still had a pretty solid year. But Jason Garrett's come to the point of his career where you can't go 8-8, you can't be a first-round exit, you cannot win the division. I think we've come to a point where if there isn't a deep playoff run for this team next year, you will be looking for a new head coach. Now, the second part of that is if you're looking for a new head coach, and let's just say the new trend that we see happening is young and innovative and stuff like that. So now you may come a Lincoln Riley, a David Shaw, or someone else who may come in and say, hey, we want to spread this thing out and throw the ball down the field. Well, the quarterback that they have there, who they aren't paying money to, so the money isn't tied up to him, he's making less than $1 million a year. A new coach comes in and say, is this the guy that I want to go forward with? Or do you come in with a new coach and you go, hey Jerry, listen, next year in the draft, we're going to get us a quarterback early in the draft to kind of fit the system that I want to put in. Because if you have a system that's spread out and throw the ball around the field, I don't know if Dak's the guy for you. So it's really going to be dependent upon Dak to have a really good year, not only for his job and for his payday, but also for Jason Garrett.
If this is an evaluation year for Dak Prescott in terms of his long-term future, have the Cowboys done a good enough job putting, stability around him? And that you've got a coaching staff that you're not certain about their long-term future. You've got a quarterback coach, position coach for him that just stepped off the field 6 months ago. And you've got an entire receiver group that's basically reset that he's going to have to develop a repertoire with. Is that a fair set of circumstances to make that evaluation on?
Yeah, it's a professional level, right? So a lot of stuff is not based on what's fair and what's not fair. It's, here's what we have. You want the job. You have the job. Now you have to go out there and execute to the best of your ability. They have a ton of guys in that locker room, as far as the front office part of it, who understand what the situation presents. So when they go back and look at it and they say, hey, he didn't do well in the situation that he normally does well in. And so you have to look at that going forward and how this team is being built. A lot of things were changed specifically for him. So if he can't excel in a situation that was changed for him, then
To that point, speaking on Prescott, obviously the Cowboys, they only got Mike White in this year's draft. They got Cooper Rush, he's a talented guy. So now they have two talented arms behind Dak Prescott. So although they're all in on him right now, they're not exactly being shy about putting some type of competition behind him. What would you need to see from Dak Prescott in 2018 to keep you from tapping someone like Cooper Rush on the shoulder, Mike White on the shoulder, and saying, hey, let's make this a competition?
the wins. At the end of the day, right? The thing that matters the most. Are we winning games the way we're supposed to win games? Is our quarterback costing us to lose games? For Dak, I don't think he's going to wow you with, huge down the field throws and all these acrobatic throws, right? He's going to do exactly what you ask him to do. He's going to be the guy where if that read is supposed to go there, he's not going to veer too much off the path. We saw that a lot with Romo, and one who played with Romo. Heck, my biggest play in my career was Romo being Romo. Literally saying, okay, Jason Garrett, here's the play that you called. I'm not running that play. I'm calling a completely different play. Now, it worked out, right? But Dak is going to be the guy who kind of stays the course, stays on the beaten path, and not try to veer off of that at all. So as long as the wins are adding up, I think that keeps those other guys at bay.
Just Taylor Jones, Fanatics for you. How you doing?
What's up, man?
I was wondering if you spoke to Dez Bryant recently, and are you surprised no NFL team signed him?
Recently, and about 2 months ago, we had a brief text conversation about 2 months ago. Am I surprised? Yes and no. And you can come up with all the conspiracy theories that you want, in your head and my head, and we all have them. I think the biggest thing for Dez, one of the things that's kind of hindered him for a long time, and this is the thing that most people, I guess on the inside, doesn't realize about the game of football, is when you're on top of your game, you get away with a lot of stuff, right? It's when that productivity begins to drop off, is where everything that you used to get away with now becomes a hindrance that people don't want to deal with. And for a long time, since Dez coming to the league, we've always talked about him as a route runner, right? Why is he able to do this, and this? Well, no one in that organization pushed him to do this, and this. Now, I know you can say he's a grown man, no one made him do that. No one said, you know what, you're not playing if you can't run these routes. Or I'm not giving you the ball if you can't run these routes. What they did was they said, as long as you keep giving us 12 plus touchdowns a year and 1,000 plus yards, we're going to let you do what you do best, and that's going to be what it is. And so now, when you're trying to go out there in the market and sell yourself to other teams as being that guy, because athletes, I'll tell you myself, I just got finished doing push-ups in the hallway against a Marine because they challenged me. I'm never going to stop being a competitor. So if you tell me, hey, you think you can do this? Yeah, absolutely. Just throw it up there. I'll go get it. Now, I'm 30-something, 5 years old. My body don't work that way anymore, but in my mind, I still think that. And the same thing with Dez. He's going to still think he's able to do those things, even when you look on the film and go, you didn't have much steps to give up, and now you're a step behind. And you don't jump as high anymore, and you don't have route running to fall back on. So now teams are saying, well, what are you going to really do for me in that point in time? And then, of course, you have the I always find this funny because the story that people are saying now, oh yeah, he was a locker room headache. He was a sideline headache. The same things that we saw people in that front office defend for a very long time, they now came out and said it's an issue. So,
Nice one.
tough.
Daniel, diehard media.
Daniel.
Talk about Dak Prescott.
Daniel, back at it again with the white vans. Sorry.
That's all right. Talk about getting Dak Prescott those wins. Do you think bringing on guys like Allen Hurns, Gallup, Tavon, are these the right guys to get Dak those wins?
I hope. He hopes. Right? I mean, he hopes that these are the guys to do it. To me, I don't know how much of a proven guy Allen Hurns is. He had a really good, 1 year. I think after that, there isn't a year on his books where he has over 600 yards receiving. So to me, that's going to be your number one, right? And Tavon, you left the coach who was young and innovative, and he couldn't get you the ball. What are we going to do here with you? So those questions are starting to come up and saying, well, you come from a place where that coach is young and kind of been known to kind of be really funky and fresh with his offensive approach. And he got rid of you for a 6th rounder. And, you know, Alan Hearns, you did X, Y, and Z here. I hope that you still have something left in the tank coming off, you know, injuries and stuff like that, where you're able to be a significant route runner for Dak Prescott, being able to throw those intermediate throws that he's really comfortable in throwing. So all these guys that you added on, they're here because the other teams didn't want them. Right? That's always the Rams didn't want Tavon, Jacksonville didn't want Alan Hearns, so now they're here. So you hope that there's something left in the tank, one, and two, that we can get creative enough offensively where we can now get those guys involved, especially a guy like Tavon Austin, where, you know, if you can get him in space with the ball in his hands, he can be pretty special, but it's all about getting him the ball in his hands.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Pancakes.